introduced Health Travelers Worldwide, an independent health advisory guiding patients through multiple treatment options available to them and helping them find the top doctors in India. They are NABH accredited and have developed more than 7,000 satisfied patients receiving the right diagnosis and care. Their services include getting teleconsultations, second medical opinions, concierge services, and airlift emergencies. I have the pleasure to introduce today's speaker, Dr. Suruchi Desai, Senior Consultant Obstetrics and Gynecology at Nanavati Hospital, Mumbai. Dr. Suruchi has over 2 decades of experience in obstetrics with a special interest in high-risk obstetrics. Today, we will be discussing pregnancy during the COVID-19 pandemic. Before we start today's session, I'd like to make some housekeeping announcements. If you have any questions, please share them with us in the comment section. We will try to take as many as possible towards the end of the discussion. Dr. Suruchi, would you like to begin sharing some of your thoughts on the current COVID situation?
A very good afternoon, Dr. Gayatri. Thanks for the kind and lovely introduction. I think all of us are gaining a little bit of knowledge every day on the current situation, and somehow we are still stuck as to where we are and what we are. All we know about the virus is, as a doctor, it's a novel virus, it's an RNA virus which is continuously changing, and as the newspapers have flashed across last 48 hours, that it's mutating at a different speed throughout the country. As a layman and being a gynecologist, the questions that come across me, the worry that the antenatal patients, the pregnant patients and the relatives see is, doctor, what next? What do we do? So the first thing is we need to tell them is this virus is here to stay. It's not going to go just by social distancing or by hand sanitizing and stuff like that. Virus which will take its own course of time. There are very clear do's and don'ts which we need to follow at this point in time till we are wiser as to what is right, what is wrong, till we have a better medical management line of treatment available. In pregnancy, first thing first is she needs to be kept away from any suspected patient, any patient who has a history of cold, cough, fever, or the pregnant lady, if she's staying in a huge joint family with kids and elderly people. In most of the households, they may not have separate bathrooms and lot of space, but if she could be given a designated area in the house where she could rest and she could be given her food and stuff like that, so her interaction with people should be reduced. A minimum of 2 meters distance, if we can manage to give her that much, and a toilet or a washroom dedicated for her, at least somebody who's going out to buy essentials, groceries, would come back home, sanitize themselves, take a bath. But there is still a risk that they might have picked up the virus, and we wouldn't want the pregnant lady to get exposed to this. So the first thing is, yes, at home, basically you need to make sure, though you are in your comfort of the house, you need to be washing your hands repeatedly and keeping a social distance. When to go and meet the doctor is the biggest question, Dr. Gayatri. They are always worried. Suddenly you will have a patient saying, oh, I've tested positive, doctor, I'm scared to come and see you in the hospital. What do you do? So unfortunately, there are so many apps, teleconsultation, video consultation. In pregnancy, they are of very minimal use because the gynecologist needs to examine the patient at some point in time. The sonography needs to be done for the pregnancy to be confirmed it's a healthy intrauterine pregnancy. We are seeing a lot of ectopic pregnancies right now. And I wouldn't want my patient to sit at home saying she's just pregnant for the fear of not going to the hospital and then ending up with a medical complication. So once she knows that she is pregnant, she needs to connect with her doctor and definitely get a sonography or a beta HCG blood test as per what her doctor feels is right for her. And then the doctor would definitely advise her. And like I would want to make it a point that a 11 to 13 week sonography would be necessary in most of the cases, because that is the point in time when we are doing an NT scan, and most of the times we are doing dual marker. So we know that the pregnancy is safe and we are not dealing with any anomalous child in utero.
So this is one of the questions that someone called me the other day and just asked was that I've just come to know that I'm pregnant. What should I do? Should I wait for the lockdown to get over? Or should I visit my doctor now? How would you advise her?
Yeah, so depending again whether she's a high risk patient or a low risk. When I mean a low risk, she's young, under 30, no other medical issues. She was just trying for pregnancy, immediately got pregnant, no medical disorders associated. So then she could definitely wait, check with her doctor with a teleconsultation or a video consultation, whatever is safe, and would start on the basic folic acid supplementation, take care of her nausea, vomiting, make sure she's following the hand hygiene protocol, not getting herself exposed, not going out and buying groceries and stuff like that. And definitely step out of the house to meet the doctor once she's around 1.5 to 2 months pregnant. Make sure she's wearing a mask the moment she's stepping out of the house. That is going to be of utmost importance. And if she has gloves which she can wear, or maybe carry her personal sanitizer, that would be an added advantage, so that we are sure we are reducing our chances of exposure to the virus. Also,
Okay.
a sonography would be required in the first trimester. In case she's not been able to go to the doctor at all, at least like I just mentioned, a sonography by 11 to 13 weeks of pregnancy, she definitely needs a sonography. So that is
there's
something.
another, sorry,
Yeah,
there's another question that said
right,
that I've just had one visit to my doctor
right,
and was told to get some tests done at between 11 and 13 weeks,
right,
which falls within this lockdown period. What
right.
should I do now?
So there are many hospitals which are catering to non-COVID patients, and sonologists are working. Definitely, there are centers which have started for sonography centers, and even by appointments, they are seeing one patient at a time. They are giving us stand-out appointments so that there is no much rush over there. So she could look out for such a place. Unfortunately, there are smaller towns and villages where such facilities are not available. In the worst case scenario, there is always going to be an iota of worry that we've missed these important tests. We just take it with a pinch of salt. Nobody would be able to then help at that point. And at the earliest next available opportunity, she should go to the doctor.
Okay. And what about antenatal screening? The antenatal screening, they normally go for their, blood pressure and
Right.
laboratory examinations. What should they do?
So laboratory examination, a lot of labs are now, giving the home service facility available. So see, there are these typically in the first 3 months, the first trimester, the second trimester, and the third trimester, you have these tests which are kind of mandatory, and they are recommended by the FOXI guidelines and the international guidelines, the RCOG guidelines. Between 11 to 13 weeks, you have a dual marker and an NT scan. Around 17 to 19 weeks, you have an anomaly scan and a quadruple or a triple marker if the mother is high risk in pregnancy. She's more than 35 years of age. She has some comorbidities. So these are typically, in an ideal scenario, non-negotiable.
Right.
But in today's lockdown, the patient needs to understand that in case she has missed the bus, in case, God forbid, a problem occurs in the fetus, she will cannot hold anybody responsible, because we are always worried about a medical legal implication also, and also we are worried of the patient's emotional stress, because she cannot go to the doctor. She has so many panics happening. She doesn't know whether what she's doing is right, whether she's doing is wrong. She doesn't know which are the red flags. When does she go to the doctor? And because the climate is changing across the globe, there's either sudden heat wave, there are uncalled rainfalls, because of that, a lot of patients are getting a lot of cold and cough. And suddenly, because she's pregnant, she has a fear that, oh God, am I
Right.
COVID positive?
Right. So one of our viewers has asked this question.
Right.
What are some of the emergency signs that indicate I must head to the hospital immediately?
Yeah. So there are two ways we could divide this question, Dr. Gayatri. One is regarding the COVID infection and one is regarding the pregnancy, right?
Right.
So if she has fever is a must. If you are a suspected case of COVID, a plain cold cough is not important. Fever, body ache, unexplained body ache, loss of smell, loss of taste. These are the symptoms which are seen in patients world across. Whether you are pregnant or not, these are your red flags. You definitely need to go and check yourself for COVID-19. Now, in pregnancy, in the first 3 months, patients, most of them have a lot of alteration of taste. So simply just dislike to something or a taste alteration should not be a cause of concern. There has to be an associated fever history. A lot of pregnant patients are asymptomatic, but still they turn positive. So these are the patients wherein we would just give them tender love care and basic isolation unless they become symptomatic. So the tests or the emergency signs would definitely be cold, cough, fever, body ache, muscle pain. That is for COVID. And in pregnancy, in case if you are in the first 3 months, you've not been able to go to any doctor. You initially had a lot of nausea, vomiting, and suddenly your nausea, vomiting stops. Or you see some spotting or brownish discharge. Then there might be something not so good happening with the pregnancy. You definitely would need to go and meet the doctor.
Right. So we have another viewer who's asking us, what effect will coronavirus have on the mother if she tests positive for COVID-19?
Right. So, Dr. Gayatri, whatever studies we have today, whether Indian little bit data or the Chinese data, which is available because they were the first one to report these infections, or Canadian and European data, we haven't been able to pinpoint as to vertical transmission from mother to child. When I say that, I mean that because of the process of birth, the child will not be positive because the child is born to a COVID positive 19 mother. COVID positive 19 mothers can have a high risk of preterm labor. They could, and because of the preterm labor and early delivery, the newborn can have a little bit of respiratory problems. But as of now, we've not had any vertical transmission seen from mother to child. And breastfeeding is definitely advocated because the virus is not secreted or seen in the breast milk. But a word of caution, if the mother is positive and her baby is definitely negative, which has been tested at birth, for breastfeeding, she has to strictly follow hand hygiene, sanitization, and wear a mask at all point in time when she's handling her baby so that she would not spread the infection to her newborn.
Right.
So this is right.
So a related question to this is that what would be the precautions to be taken, or what would be the norm for delivery of a COVID positive, a mother who's tested COVID positive, and what would be the risks in the baby?
So now there are these, because this virus has just been seen since November, December 2019. So it's not even, it's just a 5-6 month old virus, and we are, like I just said, we are gaining a lot of knowledge about it. There are no real recommendation that a lady needs to have a normal delivery or a cesarean. So cesarean, definitely we are keeping it for obstetric indication, like she had a previous cesarean, or she's diabetic, or she's hypertensive. And if you're worried that, during the process of labor she may become breathless, we wouldn't want to risk the mother and the child. So when the rule of thumb is, when the doctor is delivering a COVID-19 patient, the doctor would be wearing a PPE, would be following all the protocols laid down by the guidelines. We could try for a normal vaginal delivery with the clear understanding that at any given point of time, if the mother or the child is at a risk, fetal distress happens, or the mother becomes breathless, we would have to shift it to a cesarean section. So the safest mode of delivery right now is not a rule of thumb. We go with the flow with continuous monitoring. We could give a trial. Again, in the Western countries, when we look at the data that they have a lot of midwives who were taking care of the patient in labor, which is not the scene in India. So here, because of the space crunch, because of the unavailability of the beds and everything, sometimes giving a long trial, vaginal trial for the patient may not be possible physically and circumstantially. So we could either have a normal delivery or a cesarean. The child initially would be separated from the mother till we have the report which says in the first 24 hours the swab of the baby is sent, or on day 3 as per WHO recommendation. Till then she would be allowed to breastfeed the baby, but maybe rooming in with the mother, the child's rooming in would be very individualized depending on how critical the mother is or how good she is to take care of the child or the newborn.
Right. So you said you had experience in delivering COVID positive mothers.
Right.
So can you tell us what that experience was with you, your staff, with the hospital, and what are the things that you all did to reassure the patient, the mother, and her family?
So what happens typically when the patient is COVID positive, the patient enters the hospital all alone in an ambulance. So definitely that per se is really very, spine chilling and nervous atmosphere. In the COVID ward, she would see every one of us in PPE walking. So she really can't see who is the doctor treating. The expression of the doctor really gives a, relief to the patient. But here all you can see is just eyes behind the goggles and face mask. So it's really not a very happy atmosphere, especially when childbirth is supposed to be one of the joyous occasion. So we keep on talking to them, maintaining the social distance. We allow them to video call their relatives so that they are feeling comfortable. In the patients that I've delivered, all of them had history of either previous one cesarean or previous to LSCS, so there was no scope of giving them a vaginal trial. The moment the baby was born after cesarean, we could just show her the baby from distance and initially put the baby in separate care in a separate room till we were sure the first swab which came, which is negative, and then we could let the mother and the child be together. But again, what happens is, since we don't have individual rooms in most of the hospitals for the mother and the child to be kept, sometimes only on discharge we can let her handle her child in her comfort of her home. Because if she's in a ward which has other COVID patients, we wouldn't want to expose the baby to that. So then what we encourage is, we encourage her to express the milk, which is again, removed in a sterile container, handled with all due precautions, and got to the baby, and we feed the baby the expressed milk.
What about testing for pregnant mothers? When should they be tested for COVID?
Right. So right now in India, doctor, the guidelines say that after 34 weeks, if she's not symptomatic, she has no other symptoms except that she's pregnant, government gives us the permission to test them. Yes, at any given point of time during her course of pregnancy, she comes to us with cold, cough, fever, she would be tested at that point of time. But after
Okay.
34 weeks, yes, once she is definitely tested.
So you all do a routine testing for anyone after 34 weeks,
As per the guidelines given to
as per
us.
the guidelines. So these guidelines have been incorporated into your existing guidelines, national existing.
Right. So again, like I said, the guidelines are a very dynamic thing. They keep on changing because we are learning every day about the virus. So any high-risk patient, any cancer patients, patients who require chemotherapy, dialysis, they definitely need to be checked whether they have any symptoms or not. Just like that, the pregnant patient after 34 weeks, if not 34 weeks, but after 36 weeks, she definitely needs to be tested so that we know what protocol to follow and whether we could room in the baby immediately or we need to wait in case if she's an asymptomatic carrier. We would want the baby also to be negative before handing over the child to the mother.
Related to this, there's a question that's just come up, which says, does this mean that a positive mother cannot hug her baby? How long does she have to wait till she can?
No, she can hug her baby, but physical distancing is what they are saying, the new word, and not social distancing. She needs to make sure she's sanitized her hands completely. She's wearing a mask, and it wouldn't be like, yes, she wouldn't be able to kuchiku her baby like in the olden times, pre-corona times, but she would be allowed to touch her baby, hold her baby, breastfeed her baby, making sure that there's no way she's going to transmit the infection to her child. Once she is negative with 2 swabs and the baby is negative, yes, we would let her then show all her maternal love and express it.
Dr. Suruchi, we are reading a lot in the media today about all these alternative forms of diet or therapy that people are resorting to. What are your thoughts in that? Because I've got one more question which says, should I take any extra antenatal vitamins to protect myself from the coronavirus?
So definitely, I'm sure there would be some beneficial effects, whether we are looking at a Ayurvedic mode of management or homeopathy. But since I'm not qualified onto it, we wouldn't be able to really give a comment. But a basic thing which we all are aware of is building up our immunity. Since this virus is very similar to your influenza virus, the cold, cough, fever virus. So, we say pump your vitamin C, feed the cold and starve the fever. The typical things that we always follow: lemon shots, nimbu pani, turmeric latte as it's called internationally, or the good old haldi doodh. These things are not going to harm anybody, even a pregnant lady, but definitely they are good antioxidants, they are good immunity boosters. They would definitely help, especially for pregnant women whose immunity is definitely low compared to a non-pregnant population. Also, there are times when patients are 6 months, 7 months pregnant, they are taking their routine antenatal vitamins, the iron, the calcium supplementation. They have a lot of concern. Do I need to pump up something more? So vitamin D is something which we definitely would want them to take. The supplements. Since though there is fresh air and sunlight, we cannot utilize it because we cannot go out of the house for it. So making sure that your vitamin D supplements are taken along with your iron and calcium supplementation, and a definitely healthy diet that we are following, most of us, since we are not eating any junk food. I think that should help us adequately to pass through this.
Right. So someone wants to know, how does one take care of pregnancy at home with a 6 months pregnancy? So we're talking about someone who's going through a normal pregnancy.
Right.
But she doesn't want to take the risk of going to see a doctor at this time.
So definitely she should at least be on contact, telephonic consultation with her doctor, so that she knows that, because her doctor knows her case history. So the doctor would be able to tell her what are the do's and don'ts in case of, any red flags that she would want. Suddenly she has a headache. I wouldn't want her to sit at home just popping in pills or taking advice of the neighbor. What if her BP is going high because of the anxiety and stress? We have a lot of emotional stress because of the lockdown. World across, we are seeing different psychological symptoms which are coming up because of fear of the unknown or because you're all alone. So we have a lot of patients who have been stuck in metros because they are there for work and the family is far off. So they're missing their mothers or elders in the family who would typically in an Indian setup give them advice and comfort. So my advice for such couples, women who are in their second trimester is: A, husbands will have to be a little more proactive in taking care of them. Maybe learn some good dishes, whip up some good food for them. Talking to your doctor time to time, or maybe video calling your doctor, video consultations, FaceTiming with your family is definitely going to give you a lot of hope, reassurance, which is extremely important. And I definitely tell my patients, please stop reading the WhatsApp university messages because they are more scary than informative. If at all, you could always go on to authentic websites and check what needs to be done. As far as taking care of a normal pregnant lady who is 6 or 7 months pregnant, she needs to eat a good amount of protein rich food, carbs also. Since there is minimal activity which is happening, I wouldn't want her to pump up a lot of fat so that she puts on unnecessary weight and then have complications in her pregnancy.
Right.
Fluid intake, yes. Also, because we are homebound, we are not giving importance to water intake. So that is something we really need to, emphasize upon. That you really need to, because you're not going out, you're not doing much anything. So women are not drinking enough water, and we are seeing a lot of urinary tract infections also. So that also needs to be given importance.
Right. When we started Fortis La Farm in Delhi in 2005, we encouraged the partners of the pregnant woman to come into the labor room and be with her during the labor. And after that, it's taken off and it's become a very popular tradition. So what is the policy now for partners to come into or not be allowed into the labor room?
So, Dr. Gayatri, it's a very individual hospital decision because we do not want many visitors visiting the hospital, and the fear that any person who gets infection into the hospital will be shut down. So, just one partner is allowed in most of the hospitals, and with strict instruction that the partner, whether it's a husband or the mother or mother-in-law, whoever it is, does not move around the hospital, is just next to the patient. Because every time they move out, they go home, they come back, the chances of getting the infection to the hospital and themselves getting infection is very high.
Will they be tested prophylactically?
So today we do not have those guidelines. Asymptomatic patients are not supposed to be tested. So as I said, the guidelines change, and depending on the population dynamics, we go by that. We go with the flow.
Right. Somebody has just sent in a question saying, what tests are needed at the start of the 7th month of pregnancy?
Right. So basically, whether you've done an anomaly scan, generally the anomaly scan comes between before the 5th month is over, that is before the 20th week. If that has been missed, then please definitely get it done as early as possible. Otherwise, there would be a hemoglobin check that would be done, a sugar check which would be done. That's about it. And just make sure if you are at home that you are putting on weight properly and eating healthy food, taking your supplements. Otherwise, for a normal routine pregnancy, there is no other added tests or investigations which need to be done.
Right. So, even in a normal pregnancy, not only these times, there are a lot of most mothers go through mood swings and, emotional outbursts.
Right.
So, in these particularly challenging times, how should they be able to deal with that? For them. So, this is going to be a message for them and their families.
Right. So, like I just said, the family will have to be extremely supportive. There are times when I've had the husband is saying, "Doc, even I am worried because we are alone. I really don't know what to do." This is the first child that we are going to have. So reading up from authentic websites would definitely help. There are a lot of help groups and online groups, which have suddenly been formed, the Instagram groups wherein they are giving you right advices. Also, I would encourage my patients to download apps for meditation, and a lot of these apps have these soothing music. So the sound waves, the ocean waves, sound, those things which really calm you. Meditation is something which will help us go through these tough times. So most of the time the patient tells, doctor, I can't concentrate. I said, okay, it's okay. Just sit in a nice peaceful room. Make sure you're comfortable. You can sit on the bed. Just put on some music. Shut your eyes and just try and concentrate on the music. That could be just the beginning. Count your breaths. So basically you're relaxing your mind, which is super working right now, thinking about everything about the future when we really don't know what is going to happen tomorrow.
Exactly. Yeah. So someone is asking, how effective is steam inhalation for someone who's trying to avoid infection? Because a lot of these, like you said, WhatsApp University has propagated this taking direct steam inhalations.
So unfortunately, world across, nobody has the kind of time and money to do studies on such things. Maybe down the line, 5 years later, we all have enough time to do all these alternative method studies. But definitely, it's not going to harm you. So my question is, when they ask me, can I take steam? My concern is I don't want you to get burns because the hot water fell onto your tummy. If you have a good steam inhaler, you just use those things. Otherwise, just please avoid it, because at this point in time we don't want any added complication.
Right.
Otherwise also we don't want it, but at this point of time we are very clear that we don't want any complications. So steam is not going to harm you in any matter as long as you're being cautious and making sure that it doesn't topple onto you. And it definitely helps because in case there are any germs in the nostrils and a little bit of collection of phlegm or something, it will be taken care of. So they can definitely try taking steam. That should help them.
Right.
But this is going to be along with the normal antenatal medications, diet. It is going to be a holistic approach. You just don't stop taking your medications. Don't eat properly because you're tired cooking. You're doing, you're overwhelmed doing the household work. So, so most of the times when patients are panicking, they are alone, I just tell them, look at the positive part of it, that your husband is 24/7 with you, taking care of you in this journey. He's also enjoying the journey, when the baby kicks, the baby has these, suddenly your tummy is having a big wave. The husband, otherwise, who are at work, they miss all these things. And most of the husbands are also becoming good chefs, cooking up good delicacies for their wives.
This is a good bonding time.
Exactly. And definitely you can have a baby shower, online baby shower, invite all your friends, and you can make it more interesting. See, this is a tough time. We have a choice whether to succumb to it, sit, be gloomy, and when will this get over? Or find ways and means to keep yourself entertained. You could connect with everybody, call everybody on a Zoom call or on a WhatsApp or a video call. And so many of them are doing that. So that is really helping them get over it. And ultimately, we are all social animals. So we need to talk to people. We need interaction. So maintain the physical distance, but still be interactive. That really helps take the stress out of our mind,
Right. So one question has just come in. I think this person has just joined us. It wants to know what care should be taken during pregnancy while visiting the doctor in this current scenario. Because I can understand the concern. You go into a doctor's OPD and there'll be other patients over there. So what are the precautions they should take?
So, Dr. Gayatri, most of us, all the hospitals are following the protocols set by the government and the guidelines. So, we make sure that at a time we are giving appointment to just, 2 or 3 patients, make the waiting area, there is distance between sitting.
Okay.
In the OPD per se, the distance between the patient and the doctor is also taken care of. You have a table. The table is sanitized after each patient. The doctor is wearing the whole protection, the gown, the face masks, the shield. The patient has to wear the face mask. We sanitize the bed, the files, the pens before the next patient comes in, and making sure that you're not, generally most of the hospitals are not allowing, like I said, too many relatives to visit. So what we do at our hospital is we let the husband come in, but suppose mother-in-law, mother also wants to accompany, typically how they would want to visit with
Right.
their daughter or daughter-in-law. We, once the patient is in our chamber, we tell them to have a video call, so the the mother or the mother-in-law can ask her queries that she has, because they always feel that, oh, you didn't ask this, you didn't ask this, what should I feed you, should I give you more ghee at this point in time, the typical Indian rituals that they have. And I would really respect that, because there's a lot of emotion when a child is going to come into this world. It's not just, and patients, unfortunately, the patients who come to us, the pregnant patients, are not patients unless they have a medical disorder. It's just, even today, world across, you have women delivering at home without even seeing a doctor in those 9 months. So it's a very happy, joyous moment. So whatever little things they want to ask, the more they talk it out to you, the less fear of the unknown is what we've realized.
Right.
So being connected definitely is very important.
Right. Someone has just asked that how many sonographic scans are recommended in the current COVID times as part of the antenatal workup, and in which trimesters?
Right. So, doc, first trimester, that generally we do 2 sonographies. One is at about 7 weeks to make sure that the fetal cardiac activity is present, and that is called the dating scan. So, in case if the patient isn't sure of her last period, or she has a history of irregular cycles, to exactly know how many weeks pregnant she is, between 6 to 7 weeks we do, so that we know that it's a viable pregnancy, and the expected date is so and so. Between 11 to 13 weeks. So in first trimester, there will be 2 scans if possible. If there is a choice of only one sonography which the patient can do because of the limited resources, then yes, between 11 to 13 weeks is something I would definitely recommend that needs to be done. The second would be between 17 to 18 weeks of pregnancy, which I would want her to do before 20 weeks for the anomaly, because in case if there is, God forbid, something, we would have to take an action immediately before she completes 20 weeks. But after 20 weeks, if she even does not go for a checkup because of lack of transport, she could be in contact with a doctor, make sure her weight gain is happening, and she could directly see the doctor between 26 to 30 weeks. That is after her 6 month is started, between her 6th and 7th month. That would be more for the physical checkup and also for the weight gain and the blood pressure of the patient. Most of the patients do have a digital BP monitoring machine at home. We kind of tell them that you keep, though there is a lot of error in those machines, but at least we have a rough idea whether she's developing any hypertension in pregnancy. Around 32 weeks, we would definitely want a sonography to see if everything is fine internally, the placental maturity, the liquor, and everything. And that, so basically 3 or 4 sonographies would be mandatory in spite of the COVID situation. Maybe more in case if the placenta is low lying, or the patient has spotting, or she's got some blood pressure which is suddenly set in, and to see if the fetus is growing well, we might require a little more number of scans.
Right, right. Okay. So I'm just going to, put into a little basket all the important things that you highlighted today.
Right.
And, you're the expert, so you could probably add on to that before we wrap up our session. So I
Right.
think the very important thing is that, pregnancy is not a disease, it's a physiological condition.
Right.
And they have to be in regular touch with their physician.
Yes.
The family has to be supportive.
Very supportive.
they have to be aware of the complications, irrespective of COVID times or non-COVID times. Be aware of the complications. Get their antenatal screening up to date as advised and prescribed by the doctor, and then take precautions as and when you have any symptoms like cold, cough, fever, or whatever, and then immediately contact the doctor. Is there anything else you would like to add?
Yes, also that the vaccination, the immunization that we do during pregnancy. So there has been a lot of concern whether the patient should be given the tetanus shot or not. So in India, definitely we do follow the immunization schedule. So we give them 2 tetanus shot. One is in the as early as third month, and the last one is about 32 weeks or so that we give. Also, there was the guidelines where we used to give them the Tdap or the Boostrix immunization and the influenza vaccine so that the newborn wouldn't have it. But there is not been clarity on that. So right now we are not giving those vaccines. But the tetanus toxoid, the injection tetanus definitely has to be taken. It would not cause any interference in the pregnancy or increase the lady's chance of getting a COVID infection. So that is something which they definitely have to do it, even in the non-COVID or the COVID times.
Right.
Yeah.
Is there anything else that you'd like to tell our viewers?
Right. So once she enters the 9th month, typically we always call the patients up for a weekly checkup, which may not be possible in this time. So basically, she could come for a checkup and then maybe see the doctor again after 7 or 10 days. Be in touch with the doctor, message the doctor, and do not ignore any signs of decreased fetal movements, sudden swelling in the feet, headaches, and not try any home remedies, because the issue at this point of time is availability of beds in the hospital for delivery, availability of doctors, because so many doctors have gone into quarantine because they had a exposure to a positive patient and they were unknown of it. Or transport is a big challenge right now because of the lockdown. So these are small, very practical issues which a patient may face. Keep her bag ready, a maternity bag. And right now, there's no way they can go shopping for the newborn. So most of the hospitals are taking care of, giving the newborn clothing and all that. So these are small little practical things which are very important at this point in time because of the stress which is all around. And my sincere request to all the women out there is, please listen to what your doctor has to say rather than what somebody else's doctor said or what the other lady went through. Please don't go by this blanket therapy. Oh, if I go to the doctor right now, they'll take me for cesarean. No doctor would want to risk a mother's life or fetus's life or the unborn child's life. And like I always tell my patient, it is my responsibility to give you a healthy baby and make sure you go home safe. So the stress is more on me than you as to how to go about it. So if you are going to have full faith in me, it will help me, treat you better and right.
Right. So I think we are getting some questions, but I'm unable to read them. They're in Arabic language. So I think Health Travelers Worldwide will probably get in touch with you for them.
Right.
But we've. Is there anything else you would like to add, or can we wind up this session now?
Yes. So Health Traveler is doing a wonderful job. They are connecting doctors and patients across the globe. They are available for teleconsultation, video consultation. So I'm sure if patients have any other queries, they could definitely get in touch with them and they would put the patient through the right doctor. And I think the most important thing is that all doctors are empathic. We are learning every day. Nobody today knows about how the virus is going to be there, how long it's going to stay in which country. But just like how we have won over the HIV virus, when it came in first, all of us were worried. But today we are much wiser and we know how to treat a HIV positive patient. So we just have to be a little more patient, have faith in the medical system, and I think together we will be able to type this. Right, Doc?
I'm sure we will. I'm sure we will. I hope we will.
Yes, I'm
Okay.
sure we will.
With those very positive words, I'd like to conclude today's live session by thanking Dr. Suruchi Desai for tackling
Yes.
such an important topic, so relevant in these times. For your excellent answers to some questions, simple and yet not so simple,
Right.
and for patiently addressing each one of them and reassuring our viewers and their families.
Right.
I also thank Health Travelers Worldwide for initiating the knowledge sharing series. This is a great initiative, and I'm glad to be a part of it.
Absolutely.
We got a large number of questions, but some of those whose questions were not answered and would like further information or would like to consult with Dr. Suruchi, please get in touch with Health Travelers Worldwide on their Facebook page or on the numbers given below. Health Travelers Worldwide is also currently running a voluntary virtual clinic program with a panel of expert doctors who are volunteering their time during the lockdown period to give consultations for people in the northeastern states of India and Bhutan. If interested, please contact them with your symptoms, medical queries, for a teleconsultation. Their contact details are on their Facebook page. The knowledge sharing series will be conducted every Saturday at 4 p.m. on this same Facebook page, Health Travelers Worldwide. And we hope to engage with experts and doctors to address various relevant and important topics. I hope all of you will like and share and follow the Health Travelers Worldwide Facebook page for more health-related information. Thank you and goodbye. Namaste.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Namaste. Thank you. कैसे लॉग आउट